Just wanted to say before we get this party started, we're a little bit late, but that's live TV, and it's not how you start a race, it's how you finish it. So we're gonna come in today and hold on to one of my favorite promises, the one that guarantees that where two or more of us comes together with the same mindset, heart set, that spirit of service to one another. Nothing can happen but some spiritual magic. Can I get an amen? So I just wanted to say how glad I am that you're here. Share this broadcast out today. Bless in the manner in which you would like to be blessed. I just want to say about Fallon Flowers before I get them in here. She's got a wonderful panel of experts here for you today to talk about a lot of things as far as how we can get more of our kids of color, our Black young kings and queens across that finish line so that they can find their way into nursing and beyond in healthcare. So Fallon is a board certified women's health nurse practitioner. She's an entrepreneur. She's a speaker and a pre-nursing career coach right here in my hometown too, Chicago, Illinois. And I have been her coach for about 3 years and some time now. So I've watched her just flourish. And today is a big day for all. So Fallon's received several awards from national and state level organizations. And she's also served as a keynote speaker on one of my stages once, and for her local honor society of nursing. There's a whole bunch more to Fallon, but you're going to find out a lot just by experiencing the depth of her passion for what she's doing in the world of healthcare. And I'm telling you, I've tried to get this girl to get off that thing about just Black students, Blacks, and she won't. So I left it alone. We all know our divine callings. We know where our passions live. So I said, okay, I'm going to stick with it because it's your world, it's your life, it's your universe, and I'm just visiting. Okay, so there it is. Without further ado, on behalf of all of us here at the network, we want to thank you. We're so proud and so happy and humble that you're all here. Let's get started with today's Pre-Nursing in Color. And happy April 1st. Here we go. Pop in here because I know what she's saying is golden. There we go.
Yes, I was saying good morning and hello, everyone. Welcome to Pre-Nursing in Color. I thank each and every one of you for joining today, and I'm so grateful for you all to be here with me. And I'm even more grateful for the E360 network, for my coach, Lauren Michael Harris, the Trajectory TV network, and all of the panel speakers here with us today. And I want to next get into introducing our set of panel speakers. But before we get into that, I really want to talk about why I wanted to do this event. So being a nurse now and a nurse practititioner, I had a journey that I didn't have a coach. I didn't have a mentor. There were no nursing organizations. We certainly didn't have all of the social media and all of the things that are before us today and the wealth of information that is out there that can almost be overwhelming and confusing, and just not having a network and community of people around us. And so I wanted to make sure that with all of the information out there, that we are speaking to our own, and that we have a panel here, not only including myself, but also with a few pre-nursing students, nursing instructors, nursing entrepreneurs to speak to the next generation that are seeking to become nurses and in their journey of applying to nursing school. So I would like to bring up Nicole if we have her available. I'd like to bring her up. We have Nicole Kinlock here, and she is one of our pre-nursing students that has joined us today. And she plans on attending nursing school this fall, and we look forward to hearing more from her about her journey and what she'd like to do in becoming a nurse. Next, I'd like to bring up Naya. If we could bring up Naya, please. Naya is also a pre-nursing student, and she is at New York NYC Community College and certified medical, and she's been in a medical career for over 7 years, and she's chosen her career path in wanting to serve in the community and give back through health and community resources. Do we have Naya or Nicole for on the screen?
Nicole needs a moment, and Naya is not here. She's having internet issues. So let's keep
All right. All righty then. Well, we will keep going. All right. And then next, we'll continue with ladies first. That'll be Dr. Sandra Curtis. And Dr. Sandra Curtis has been in the nursing field for a very long time. So for 37 years, she's had experience as a registered nurse. And that includes 25 of those years have been as an educator. And Dr. Sandra RN knows a little bit about nursing education. She has taught in a nursing aid through doctorate level programs. She holds a BSN, she holds a MSN, and a PhD in nursing. So she's got all of the alphabet soup behind her name. She remembers what it was like to be a student and how to educate nurse educators and the value of higher education. And she believes that no matter what degree you're thinking about, she is ready to help you, to share her knowledge and experiences with you to help you achieve your educational goals. Thank you, Dr. Sandra.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have up to the stage Jessie Gallup, LPN. So Jessie is a licensed practical nurse with 30 years of experience and holds multiple coding credentials through the AHIMA, AAPC, and BMSC. A lot of acronyms that I'm not familiar about, but along with those approvals, he has ICD-10, CM coding designations, and so many more. Jessie has worked many years in direct care as a nurse in several specialty areas, and he has a never-ending quest for success to help use his medical knowledge to utilize and just help others in other ways with health information management. So this is a unique way in which you can use your nursing background and skill to contribute. And Jessie currently lives and provides group and medical coding and CDI training through his company, The Coding Nurse. So this is the CEO of The Coding Nurse. So welcome, Jessie Gallup, LPN.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. And then so next, I want to go into, if we don't have our other speakers yet on the stage, I think I'll just continue on then. And I want to start off with a question to kind of bring things together. And so I wanted to start off with asking my panel speakers here, what was or is unique about your journey to become a nursing student?
Well, I'll go first since it's always ladies first.
Yeah.
My journey was kind of unique because I never planned to be a nurse. I wanted to be a clinical psychologist, and my parents, who knew better, told me, and I did better. So I decided after some encouragement and convincing that I wouldn't stay in school long enough to get a PhD, that is really required to be very successful often in the psychology field, I went into nursing. But I did it fairly traditionally. I entered into a BSN program directly out of high school. I went to one school, it was huge. That was not a good experience or good fit for me. So I transferred to a smaller school and did excellent. Best choice I could have ever made. I then married, had kids, divorced, and kept working, and eventually ended up going back to college for my master's in nursing education after my children were grown and were all in college. So there was about a 20-some year gap between my BSN and MSN. Once I completed my MSN, I was convinced I'd never go back to school. 6 months later, I enrolled in a PhD programs and completed my PhD in nursing education. So although it was straightforward, there were a few detours, little slowdown areas, but through it all, I stayed committed to my goals and my dreams. And here I sit today, and it's doable, it's achievable, but you have to want it and work for it. No matter where you start, it's where you finish. So I'm here to encourage anyone, and your experience is your experience. Don't compare yourself to others. Your life is your life. Take what you get. Remember, delayed is not denied, and keep your head going and move forward. And you can achieve your dreams just as I have. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Sandra Curtis. And that's so interesting how you said originally that you had other plans and that you had thoughts about a PhD, and then there you are still now having a PhD after all this time anyway, and being able to just persevere on nevertheless, no matter how many years that took for you to be able to do that. You made that, you made what you had. You did what you had. And
Exactly.
You became a registered nurse and became an educator of nurses on top of that. And so in all the years of dedication that you've given to it, and you've done so much. And I just thank you for all that you've done in nursing so far.
Thank you. And another unique thing, I just forgot about this. I graduated with my BSN. I now am a professor at that same school. And it's a predominantly white Catholic institution. So my focus there is increasing the number of minority and underrepresented students and faculty.
That's even more amazing because representation absolutely matters. And to, not only go back to where you came from, one, but then two, to be there and represent being one of very few Black, if not only Black professors there really means a lot, especially for the next generation. So thank you so much, Dr. Sandra Curtis.
My pleasure.
All right. Welcome, Nicole. I don't know if you were in on when we were asking the question, but my question to the panel, my first question to the panel was, what was or is unique about your journey to becoming a nursing student? You can unmute your mic.
So I don't know if I would say that my journey was really unique. So prior to become a pre-nursing student, I was out of school for about, I would say like almost 10 years. So I decided to go for nursing school while after I just had my daughter. So I just went kind of like straight into starting the prereqs. It was pretty difficult being a full-time mom and also juggling school. But basically, nursing has always been my passion. It's just something I've always wanted to do. So I knew that I had to just put everything that I had into it. And so far, it's been pretty rewarding. I currently work as a tech in the field, so I'm learning like a lot of hands-on skills, and I'm also learning a lot from nurses. So yeah, it's doing pretty good so far.
Thank you so much. And that is a unique journey. Absolutely. I think, especially being a parent and taking a break away from school, I think And our stories are somewhat similar, and I'll get into that. But sometimes that's a challenge, because I see a lot of students in a lot of different groups and on posts online, and that's constantly a question and concern. Like, I'm a mom, I have young kids, I have 2 or 3 kids, and I have all these things going on. But nevertheless, you are pushing through. You have a goal, you have a dream, you're dedicated. I'm so proud of you, and you have really been putting in the work. And I just thank you for being here today. And I'm so glad that, that you are looking to join the profession, because we need more Black nurses, and we need representation, and we need people who have the heart to do it and push through. So thank you so much, Nicole.
You're welcome.
All right, Jesse. If not, I don't know if Naya is here, but otherwise, Jesse, if you can let us know what was unique about your journey when on the way to becoming a nursing student.
Similarly to Dr. Sandra, I never wanted to be a nurse. I started out, I wanted to be a chemical engineering major. So what I found out was all of the advanced science and math that I took really prepared me for nursing, which will come later. But how I actually got into nursing was I ended up becoming the caregiver and advocate for a lot of my family as they battled various illnesses, and they transitioned. And my brother contracted AIDS in the late 80s, and I ended up becoming his caregiver. And right as he was we knew that he was going to transition soon, one of his hospice nurses came, she was at the house and was like, I really think you should go to school to be a nurse. She said, you really took excellent care of your brother. So I'm like, you think so? No, it was never really on my radar. So I took her advice, and she actually even wrote me a letter of recommendation, and I got in, and the rest is history. So my mission moving forward, because like everybody, when you go to LPN school, they tell you, oh, go back and get your RN. And I did try, but it just never resonated with me. It just didn't. And so now my whole mission, since I have become an LPN and been satisfied with it, my mission is to show other LPNs that if you decide not to become an RN, you can still have a successful, fulfilling career without becoming a registered nurse and still be a nurse.
Absolutely. Jesse, you better tell it. We have to give big respect to our licensed practical nurses, otherwise known as LVNs in other states, which is a licensed vocational nurse. But either way, thank you so much, Jesse, for representing not only as an LPN, but also uniquely as a male nurse as well. And just taking to the calling that, when someone gave you that compliment and saying, you really took good care of those people, you could have brushed it off, or, some of us, when we can't take compliments, but you actually took that and went somewhere with that. And especially having a different degree path and a different educational path and pursuing something different. But you went ahead and tried. Not only did you try, but you succeeded. You became an LPN, which is a nurse. But then on top of that, you used your knowledge and skill as an LPN to now be an entrepreneur and show people that you can do a lot as an LPN. And there's not the limitations that we think that are on that title and that degree of being a licensed practical nurse. So thank you so much, Jesse.
Thank you.
All right. And Miss Naya, welcome back to the stream with us, our other pre-nursing student. If you're not able to come off of camera, please unmute your mic and let us know for our first panel question, what is unique or was unique about your journey to becoming a nursing student?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me here. I want to say my unique experience was up and down. I started off as a CNA at 19 years old, then went into medical assistant, and I always knew I wanted to be a nurse. But once I was on the track of my pre-nursing, I did end up getting pregnant with twins, and I kind of was in like this panic shock. I was like, how am I going to do this with twins and in the nursing field. And as I was so I switched to education, and as I was getting my education degree, and I'm like literally a semester away from graduating, I noticed like this is not something I wanted to do. I've been working during the pandemic, helping out, working 132 hours, and just being able to be there to serve my community. It's just like it felt so good. So knowing me going into education, knowing that that's something that I didn't want to do, I just stopped immediately and I went back into the pre-nursing and doing that. My advisors, they weren't, a lot of people wasn't supportive of this decision that I was making to go into nursing. People were trying to, I guess, like scare me and say, oh no, just do education and finish your education degree, or no, you know, you might not finish it, you know, and not be able to do it. But I just found a community. I just stuck with people. I let people know who I knew that was going to support me in my pre-nursing journey. So it's been up and downs, looking for schools to get into, all these requirements to get into the pre-nursing track. They do kind of make it, especially in community college, they do make it very competitive. And because of that, I know some advisors like, oh, it's too competitive, you might not make it. But my thing was just sticking to knowing what I wanted to do, having a plan, having my support that I have, my family support. So that's my unique journey, because even to this day, they still not allowing me to, they want me to do my prereqs before they actually let me claim that major and that track. So they have been giving me a lot of pushback within multiple CUNY schools, but I keep going. I keep going. They try to route me to the LPN, like, oh no, you could get your LPN faster and then you can go back into nursing. I just got a lot of stuff, but what I did was just stick to my ground, pray, my affirmations, and I know this is something that I want to do. I've been in the medical field for the longest, and I'm not going to let nobody stop me. And I'm not worrying about time. I'm just worrying about actually making sure I have the actions to get it. So my journey, and to this day, is still a lot of roadblocks and a lot of people trying to push caps towards me and telling me what I can or cannot do, and I can't be a nurse. But I know that's not true. So I'm just going to keep going and surround myself into the community of the Black nursing community as well as nursing.
Well, amazing. Thank you so much, Naya. What I heard and what I really can gather from your unique journey is the power of the pivot, stepping away but coming back and just being persistent nevertheless. And, absolutely right. Community is absolutely key, because, when you don't have that support there, that can make things so much more of a challenge in journey really to pursue anything. But you started taking those steps with becoming a CNA, becoming a medical assistant, and getting that experience, and really getting yourself as prepared as possible, and as well as taking some of your classes. And nevertheless, whatever those advisors are saying to you, you're pushing through, and you're not just checking out one school, you're checking out multiple schools, which is something you should definitely do to make sure that that you are kind of best prepared for multiple schools. And so I'm so glad for you to join us today on this panel as well. And thank you so much for answering our first question. I'll go ahead and also kind of share a little bit about what was unique about my journey, and then we'll go on to our next segment and a quick commercial break. So for me, what was unique about my journey was that I had already graduated with my bachelor's degree in biology, because for myself, I was supposed to be the first doctor in the family. A lot of people sometimes go that route. They were either only exposed to medicine and being a medical doctor, or that was the thing that had at that time more prestige, if you will, and more respect, becoming an MD. But for me, I had already gotten a bachelor's degree. It felt a little backwards going to get my associates in nursing, but that's what I did. I went ahead and did that. I did it at a community college. And so at that time as well, the value, I don't think, was fully realized in how great the option is for a community college. And so, but, you know, there was some kind of stigma around going to community college. It was almost like you didn't make it, you know, you didn't do well enough. But that's absolutely not the truth. That's an option for so many people, that you can save a lot of money and save a lot of time with obtaining a higher education. And I was doing that. But by that time, what was also unique was that I had already used up all of my financial aid, because I had already pursued a bachelor's in a, you know, a unrelated field or a different field. I was already out of my mother's house, and I was already working full time. So I was trying to balance working as well as trying to go to nursing school, taking prerequisites. You know, it was just so many different things going on. And so, but I made a way. You know, I made my way from customer service positions and managerial positions all the way into nursing, through all the way to nurse practitioner, and here I am today. And so I'm so grateful. I may not be the first doctor in the family, but I'm certainly the first nurse and first nurse practitioner, and I'm dang proud of it, I'll tell you that. So I want us to take a quick commercial break before we go into our next section. And so I thank all the panel speakers and all of those of you in the audience right now that are watching and listening, and we'll see you back in just a second.
Did you know you can apply to over 50 historically black colleges and universities at the same time for only $20? You can with the Common Black College application. Hello, my name is Robert Mason. I'm the founder of the CBCA. Students around the world have completed the application and received multiple acceptance letters, financial aid packages, and scholarship offers. So visit our website at commonblackcollegeapp.com to apply now. And don't forget to pick up the book, Get Educated, The Man Behind the Common Black College Application. Thank you, and get educated.
All right, so we are back. And the first thing that I'd like to start off with is talking about being prepared in the journey for applying to nursing school. And so if we can bring up the presentation for that. And then for the panel speakers, I have a couple of questions as we go along with this, and I'd love to have your expertise added in as we dive into that. And so I started and the reason I'm bringing this up, and I'll bring everyone through this, but with Nursing Inspired, what I do is I make sure that I have 3 goals. I want to make sure that Black aspiring nurses are prepared, organized, and inspired to apply to nursing school. Next slide, please. And please make sure you all, with this, with the housekeeping before we get into that, your virtual remote, so you can scan the QR code on the screen. That'll take you to the different areas in which you can stream and watch with us. And all of the students, you can also download your resource guide where you can take digital notes, and all of the links for some of the things that we'll be sharing on the screen will be on here. And then make sure that you are also following us on social on the previous slide. Please make sure you're following us at Nursing Inspired. Give us some hearts, give us some likes, and drop those hashtags with your posts as well, with Future Nurse, Pre-Nursing in Color, and those that were on the screen. Next slide, please. All right, and I just wanted to quickly know before we got into everything, who all here that's watching, if you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, or any of our other sites where you can actually put a comment in the chat, let us know if you are a pre-nursing student, a school staff, youth leader, or if you are a nursing student or a nurse. I was just curious to know who was joining us today as we are having this conversation. So just drop those in the chat and we'll let those run across the screen and see who all is joining us today as our first quiz. All right, and let's see what we have going so far. All right, I see yep, I see Dr. Janet Williams. Hi, Dr. Janet Williams. And she's also, she's a certified nurse midwife with her doctorate in nursing, actually. So thank you, Dr. Janet. Thank you for joining us. Hello. All right, we can go to the next screen, please. All right, so prepared. So we can go ahead to the next one. So when we talk about being prepared, I want to make sure that we're kind of all on the same page. So most people, when they think of going into healthcare, it seems like it would be pretty streamlined, but it's not always the case, especially for nursing in particular. And so I wanted to kind of review over the journeys of each of us that were here on the panel to show how many different ways there are to come into nursing. You know, at the very end of the journey, we have the little ping on the nursing student. But look at the various many ways we can go. Some people can go from going from high school and getting their SAT, ACT, and doing, you know, things like the additional classes and everything and AP and all of that, and then go into a direct entry program. And then also get their college acceptance and then do the prerequisites. Some of the rest of us who went more well after high school, we actually may have just taken the prerequisites and, you know, gone into becoming a nursing student. Some people go the route of taking prerequisites as a pre-nursing major at their school, and then having to take nursing entrance exams now as well, which is an added requirement that has now come up, and then doing things like getting recommendation letters and CPR and, you know, interviews and all of these things. It can just be such a windy path, absolutely, to becoming a nursing student. And, you know, we've all kind of shared our journeys and everything, but I want you to know that there is a way to make sure that we know a streamlined path for you. And, you know, just make sure that you have a coach, a mentor, and making sure that you're in a nursing community so that you're kind of best aware of what's going on. Next slide, please. I brought this up. This has been some of you all who may have seen some of the advertisement for the event today. This is part of my motivation and why too, in addition to what I showed on the previous slide. Not only is it just so confusing, the process of applying to nursing school, but this particular article that came out in 2020, they did a multi-year study. It was over a period of 4 years, and they looked at so many hundred students, and at the end of it all, out of the African American students, they did not make it through. Only 17% of them were actually applicable to be, you know, able to apply to the nursing program. So something was being lost there. Something was being missed. And we already have a nursing shortage. We already have a shortage of Black nurses, even more so. So the last thing we need is at the very beginning of the pipeline to have Black pre-nursing students being lost in this. And this was a school that, you know, accepted, you know, a great amount of students. And, you know, this wasn't a super high ranking school or anything like this, you know, but for some reason, these students weren't getting in. And so I really wanted to make sure that we have some support around how we're helping the next generation to become nurses and become nursing students. And I wanted to actually ask the panel a little bit what your thoughts are on why you think there may be some issues with students not making it to the nursing student phase of the whole journey. Did we have anyone that wants to weigh in?
Sure, this is Dr. Sandra. This is an interesting statistic, and I think that we have to look at what it's pertaining to, what type of nursing program. Because the 17%, of course, is very weary, an successful application rate. However, if you look at some nursing schools, they will have a 100% acceptance rate. So in my mind, the 17% is bad, yes, but the 100% is just as bad on the other side. So this is something you really have to look at, what the acceptance rate is of the applicants for the school, because that can cue you into a lot of things. For instance, this 17% acceptance rate, yes, it's bad, and there's probably some barriers present that don't need to be there, some that are acknowledged and some that are not. So that's something we can work with. However, the 100% acceptance rate often represents a school, not always, but often represents a school that is called what's called a school of opportunity, where they're targeting people or marketing directly to people who do not get accepted into some of these other programs. And in doing that, they recognize, yes, there are some barriers, there may be some deficits and prerequisites and that type of thing, preparation. But you have to consider, do they have wraparound services that can help support the student through the program? Because if you get in and there's no support there, you might as well not get in. So when we look at the lower application rates, yes, let's look at what are the barriers. And most of them we can work with. However, again, on the other hand, with that 100%, there's also hidden barriers that may prevent you from graduating. So you kind of have to look at what the numbers are representing. But regardless, we do have to make sure our young people and whatever age they are prepared to get in. And part of that is knowing what the requirements are ahead of time and starting work early. So I really like this. This is a good number.
Thank you, Dr. Sandra. Yes, and thank you for sharing those additional insights, because the barriers can be real and surmounting for some of our future Black nurses out there. And there's now a reach, I know, to be more culturally competent and have more cultural sensitivity and understanding and training. I just recently saw that kind of in the news for the healthcare field and everything. And so, but they need to not only make sure that it's not only in practice of taking care of patients, but also in educating students as well, and making sure that you are being sensitive to their needs as well. Jesse, Nicole, or Naya, did you all have anything to add on to this?
I have something to say, but I'll wait to see if somebody else wants to weigh in.
Okay, well, go ahead.
Okay. Dr. Sandra made some pretty very good points. And I can say, like, from what I observed in nursing school, and even other people who my other friends who were who are nurses and went through nursing school, I think that math and science plays a very strong role in people being able to pass these exams. Mm-hmm. And like I said, like before I went into nursing, I had advanced chemistry and mathematics. So the entrance exam was not a struggle. And for the most part, in the beginning, I didn't struggle through nursing school either, because like the calculations I thought were pretty simple. But that's because I had calculus. So it's all relative. So, and I know, like, one of my friends, like, she has her BSN, Master's in Healthcare Administration, and she still talks about how I helped her with learning stoichiometry, but I learned that in high school. So when I went to when I went to college, I just built on it. And then when I went to nursing school, I had it down pat. So it's easy to understand when you're prepared. And I just don't think, especially for students of color, I don't think that science and math is really pushed and promoted in high school, because that would really, really boost people's success rate. And I also think that what nursing school needs to do, and they don't do, I think that they need to do it nationally. A lot of people don't know their learning styles, and that is crucial.
Yes.
And I was a full adult before I think I was at a job of all places that had nothing to do with healthcare, that actually made us take a test, and I found out that I'm a kinesthetic learner. But when I think about how I learn, I'm like, well, I didn't even know that's what it was called, because I'm not an auditory learner. I can listen to you, but I'm not going to remember. I can watch you, and I'm not going to get it. But if I write it down, step by step, I'll never forget it. People need to learn their learning styles, and because nursing school is very fast paced, and it builds on, everything builds on top of what you had before. So if you don't have a solid foundation, if you didn't get the basics, it makes it very hard to continue. And I think that we just need to improve the quality of science and math education at the high school level. And I think nursing as a profession needs to have students know from the get-go what their learning styles are, and help them with note-taking, help them with study tips, all that, to be more successful.
Wow. Great insight, Jesse. Thank you. Yes. Math and science is definitely a big deal. And I had a bachelor's in biology prior to, so any prereqs that I didn't have already at that point in time, it was easy for me to, kind of pick those things back up. And that can be a stopping point, I think. So you're absolutely right, that we need to have more emphasis on that, and the learning style. That really helps to make a difference, because when you know your learning style, you know how to study, you know where your areas of opportunity are to be able to progress in this. Naya, did you have anything to add before we move on?
What was the question again? I had heard.
Okay, that was just in regards to this percentage out of 2,400 students, almost 2,500 students, and those that were Black at this particular school, 17% of them not making it through the pre-nursing phase.
I feel like when being in my pre-nursing phase, advisement, they play a big major part when you first go into school and you tell them that you would like to be a nurse. And sometimes, depending on the person, they might look at you, or they might look at your grades and stuff like that. They will be very disencouraging, and like, no, you won't be able to do it. I know that happened to one of my friends, and she ended up still getting her bachelor's, but then she had to go into accelerated nursing program. But when she could do the nursing program, and the advisor told her there's no way that you can do it. And I just think, if someone is telling you advisement, if they are telling you that they want to be a nurse, don't tell them that there's no possible way that they can do that. If they're struggling, ask them why they're struggling, because there's resources. So one resources that I know I use in my school, I am visual. I need to listen to recordings. I have anxiety. And they had accessibility in my school, and no one told me about that. But I was just trying to see, like, what can I do, looking around at the resources, and I was able to find accessibility in my school, where they had, like, I have a pen where I can write my notes. It's on a book and it's recorded, and then the teacher is talking. So when I get home, I just connect it into my computer and I listen to the notes. And because I'm not a really good note taker, but I'll take better notes after listening to the recording and actually seeing some of the notes that I have wrote. And if it wasn't for me doing my own research and looking for that, I would have not known that. So I think they could be pushing more research. If they see someone struggling, like, what is wrong? Why are you struggling in this course? What can we help you with? It's just like, oh no, this is not for you. Maybe you should try this major. And actually
helping, instead of just trying to get the children out of school, or the students or the adults out of the school, like actually help them and listen to them what they want to do, because you're deterring them. Sometimes some people actually listen, and it's like, oh no, I can't do this, so I think it needs to be better encouragement. There probably need to be more clubs in schools as well for support, because I have a support group, and me and my friends, we have a support group. We help each other study, and we go to the library and we look up all the resources, and we just help each other. So I think the faculty, they could do better with that, so they can have more higher success rates. And all these like different requirements, like, oh, if you like have to retake one class over it and you're not able to get into the nursing, that's another thing that pushes. I like CUNY Hunter has that, Hostels Community College has that, a few community colleges in certain areas have that, where some people do feel like in science or anything like that, they won't be able to join that nursing program because they had to take another prereq over, because in the prereqs you needed a B. And I feel like that's wrong, that's another barrier that you're putting on students that maybe just had a rough semester, or maybe didn't grasp the information, because that information is a lot. And I think that's some of the reasons why some students are not getting in, because of these high requirements.
Yeah. Wow. Very insightful, especially from a student perspective. And just thinking back, if you didn't make it through a class, if they're not encouraging you, if they're being discouraging, and just trying to point you to another direction, so many different things. And so, but nevertheless, like you said, having that community, looking at resources, getting accessibility, so many different things that you pointed out, which I love that you shared with us. We can go on to the next slide, please. So I just wanted to make sure, because we were throwing out a lot of acronyms and a lot of program types and all of that everybody generally knows. Although there is a windy path to getting to become a nursing student, generally everything kind of follows the same path when it comes to becoming a nurse. So generally, once you get into nursing school, you're going to take your nursing coursework while you're there, and you need to successfully pass that. And then you're going to go to nursing clinicals at different hospitals and long-term care facilities, and just places that you can get hands-on experience related to those different courses and areas and that you're studying in nursing. And then you have to make sure that you complete the program, and you have to make sure that you pass any type of tests or things that they have along the way for you to look at and do to make sure that you pass. And then at the end of it all, to become a nurse, you have to not only graduate your program, you have to also get your license. So you are not a nurse. Although you may be educated as one, you are not officially a nurse until you have passed the NCLEX. That's what we call that NCLEX. There's the NCLEX PN for those who go through a LPN program. And then you have the NCLEX RN for anybody that goes through any of the different routes, no matter if that's associate's degree, bachelor's degree, or any type of bridge programs like associates to bachelor's or a master's direct entry type of programs. Either way. And I wanted to say this too, that just be open-minded to the variety of types of nursing schools that you can attend. We'll get kind of more into that a little bit later. And that every time you see that little pill icon, that's one of the little top 10 tips that are in that resource guide. So make sure that you use the resource guide that's in your virtual remote there. We can go on to the next slide, please. All right. And we can play this video if it'll play.
Did you know you can apply to over 50 historically Black colleges and universities at the same time for only $20? You can with the Common Black College application. Hello, my name is Robert Mason. I'm the founder of the CBCA. Students around the world have completed the application and received multiple acceptance letters, financial aid packages, and scholarship offers. So visit our website at commonblackcollegeapp.com to apply now. And don't forget to pick up the book, Get Educated, The Man Behind the Common Black College Application. Thank you, and get educated. Did you know you can apply to over 50 historic?
All the students that are in this, that are paying, that are watching this and watching even the replay of this, knows that there are so many different ways to get the job done and save your time and money. I really want to make sure that students are using your financial aid and time wisely, because I went back and I spoke about my story about how I had already used all of my financial aid up because I was getting my bachelor's in biology. And a lot of students are sometimes doing that route where they are going into colleges and they are becoming a psychology major is a big one, a biology major, a sociology major. Even though they want to become a nurse and they know that they want to go to nursing school, they'll declare that major and they'll use all of their financial aid up on the classes for that major rather than just focusing it in on nursing. But with all of that, I wanted to make sure that in your efforts that you are saving as much time. And so if you have interest to go to an HBCU and that HBCU has a nursing program, you can use the Common Black College app. I don't know about anybody else on the panel, but this was not around for me. And I don't know if either of the students are using any of these resources right now, but that's a wonderful resource to apply to 67 HBCUs across the country with the ones that specifically have nursing programs all at one time for $20. So you can't beat that. Also, there is the Common app. That's one that you can now, you can go ahead and apply to up to the, over 1,000 schools across the United States. And so you can kind of filter through that and go through and use that app and website and resource to be able to help you to kind of get the job done in a more streamlined way and being prepared. And then the last resource I wanted to bring up was the Nursing Cast. You can apply to over 300 schools, nursing programs in the US with this app, which is helpful because, and I really want to ask some of the panelists about this, because the process of applying to nursing school is variable at different schools. But in my time of applying to nursing school, you had to apply one by one. And, you could possibly apply electronically partially, but otherwise you had to apply with a paper packet and take it to the school or get it mailed to the school and get certified mail. And, the anxiety and angst of having to wonder, did they get my recommendation letters yet? Did they get my test scores? Did they get my transcripts? And all that constant emailing back and forth and calling back and forth and visiting, it's a lot. And so to be able to have an app or resource that can kind of streamline that, as long as that the schools that you want to go to, those nursing programs have that, they use the Nursing Cast, what a wonderful resource to be able to have and use. And just with all of this, again, saving your time and money, because it makes better sense to target the schools you want to go to, and then take the classes and save your financial aid and use that wisely rather than you doing it after the fact. So for the panelists here, I wanted to know, was the application process this simple for you, with applying to college or nursing school, or are you using these resources now in your midst of applying to colleges and nursing programs?
And I want to. This is Dr.
Go ahead.
Back in the dark days, 37 plus years ago, it was paper pencil application. You sent it in, you waited for them to contact you, and it was a lot of waiting and angst. But if you apply, depends too on what type of school you apply to. If you apply to directly to a public university, it's a little bit different. You can be accepted directly into the school, but then have to make application to the nursing school after you get admitted to the school. So there's a little bit of difference there with whether it's a private or a public schools. A lot of the public schools now will just accept you directly, the private schools rather, but the public ones, you may have to apply to the actual college or university and then be admitted, complete your prerequisites, and then apply to your college of nursing. So it's a little bit different on your schools. But a lot of schools do use Nursing Cast, and that's a wonderful way for people to make multiple applications, like you said. Additionally, what happens is there are people at each of these colleges that adhere to this or use this app who are constantly scanning the application pool. So not only are you being exposed to the schools that you may be interested in, but there may be schools out there that you're not even aware of, that by having your application in this pool can see you and then contact you. And that happens with a lot of the smaller, lesser known schools. And a lot of people just don't recognize these schools are there. But your smaller and often your private schools have a lot of resources that are targeted towards people providing those wraparound services. And like I said, those are the additional tutoring, support, mentoring programs. So it's a great application to use. I encourage everyone to use it, and don't limit yourself. The possibilities are endless. So why not make your application out there endless? So use that app if you are able to do so. But it is much easier now to apply to multiple schools.
Yes, thank goodness, right? Nicole, I wanted to hear from you for a bit, especially as a pre-nursing student. Can you let us know, have you used these, heard of these, or what you're thinking about with using these?
Yes, Nicole speaking. Yeah, I agree with Dr. Sandra. Basically, I've actually never heard of these programs. I will be putting Nursing Cast to use, but no, pretty much my experience has been the same as her. So I've had to apply to the schools individually. For private schools, it was a bit easier. You just do one application and then you would meet with the advisor, go over it. And if you qualify, you're in the program. But with public schools or like universities, community colleges, it's the same thing. So you'd apply, like on our main site here, Apply Texas. You'd apply to the school, make sure you have all the requirements, and then check your credits and then apply to the nursing school. So it sounds simple, but it's actually very strenuous here in Texas, just because all the schools are just so competitive. You have to have like certain grades. We have to do entrance exams, which is pretty good. And something I wanted to add from the previous slide a little bit back. So I agree that we need to know like our study styles. So for the HESI exam, I like that they do have, for the application HESI, they have where you do like your learning style and like your personality profile. So that's added. I kind of wish they would kind of incorporate that into the T's as well, so that can help the school know like the students' learning style. And also kind of similar to the HESI, I think that was pretty good because I just checked mine and it's pretty accurate that it picked up on my nursing style, my study style, sorry. I'm done speaking.
Thank you so much, Nicole. And Naya, did you have anything to add with this, or Jesse?
For me, I haven't heard of any of these websites. I'm going to take a look into it. I was just Googling New York City nursing majors, nursing programs, and I just called each individual school, spoke to the admissions team. Yeah, spoke to the admissions team to see what was needed. I asked about price, and I have a list of all the schools and a potential school. So if the CUNY process is longer than what I expect, I do have some colleges that I do have on backhand. Like the private colleges are more easier to get into, but they're expensive. I also have been talking to other students that I know have been applying for other schools to learn about their process and what was needed and how was the school. I know when I would go into admissions and speak to them, if I see a student, I'll ask them like, "Oh, are you in a nursing major?" Because I'll see them with their like uniform, and I ask them questions like, "How's the school? How was your process? How was financial aid? Did you have to take out any loans?" So I'm more like hands-on and getting to know people that are in that school or applying to schools, or asking people, or asking some of my friends that already are nurses, like, who can you direct me to that can let me know about these schools, or who do I have to talk to, who do I have to email. So that's the process of what I have been doing so far.
Wow, that's really, really something else. So yeah, so I'm glad that I was able to share with you all then the two pre-nursing students here today with us on the panel some new resources and ways in which to kind of save yourself time and money. So we need to move on to the next slide here. We can take a little bit of time on this, and this is really one of the biggest ones that I like to make sure that I share with people as a top tip. And whatever we don't get to, there's the resource guide does have all of the different links and sites and things that that are here if we move a little fast. And so top tip, you see the little pill icon up there. Make sure the school is state approved, it's accredited, and it has near or above the national NCLEX pass rates. That's a big one. That's almost a 3-in-1, really. I wanted to make sure to mention this. So we talked about NCLEX previously. So that licensure exam, if the NCLEX pass rate is well below the pass rate, that puts that school at risk of being on probation and that program closing down. So you want to pay attention to that, because you do not want to be in a nursing program and in the midst of being in your nursing program, it shuts down and you've taken all this time, all this money, and sacrificed and turned other schools down and all of that, and then this school closes down and you have to start over because it's not transferable most of the time. There are some very, very rare instances where nursing courses and programs are transferable, but those are very rare scenarios that can occur. But the NCSBN, that top link there, that can take you to where it shows you where the national pass rates are currently at. And you can actually see the previous years as well. Now, we do have to give some grace because of the pandemic, and a lot of schools have suffered tremendously with that in the midst of all of that. So make sure that you check that out. But you need to be able to look at your State Board of Nursing website, really, to look at your schools that are that you're looking at applying to, and it shows all of the schools in your state what their NCLEX pass rates are. With that, accreditation is a second thing. So accreditation, you want to make sure that the schools are either accredited by the ACEN or the CCNE, one of the two. And I have links here so that you can, in your resource guide, that you can actually click on, and it'll take you to a finder. So it'll let you know if those schools are accredited or not. Dr. Sandra, I wanted to have you weigh in a little bit more, especially with you being in education, if you could, about just a little bit more about accreditation and any other pearls that you had.
Okay, great. That's a great topic. We look at approval and accreditation. Approval, every nursing school that is open in the United States has to have approval to be open from their State Board of Nursing. And what that is saying is that the school has met the minimum requirements to be open based on the state boards, what they deem important or essential for a complete and thorough nursing education. And what they look at faculty, the credentials of the faculty, the experience, the education levels. They look at curriculum. Is it meeting the standards? Is it comprehensive enough to prepare a safe nurse upon graduation? So any school that's open has to be approved or it wouldn't be open. So you don't really have to worry about that. What you really need to worry about is the accreditation issues. And the accreditation is a process that a program nursing school goes through to validate that they are meeting the minimum standards and beyond, and that they are committed to continuing to do so. So when we look at accreditation, there's actually two types. And this is what gets a lot of pre-nursing students into difficulty because they don't understand the types of accreditation and what they represent. So you have voluntary accreditation and involuntary accreditation. So involuntary accreditation is where a nursing program, if they have to have this accreditation from either a state and national accrediting body, and that helps to verify it's required so that the school can receive financial aid from the government. So they have no choice, the school has no choice but to obtain these types of accreditation. So that's the involuntary. The voluntary accreditation is where an organization nursing program says, hey, we really want to be a rising star or a school of excellence. So we are going to be above and beyond standards. And we're going to be committed to continuing that, because we know a lot of places and people will start things and they kind of dwindle down in quality. But these schools who receive this voluntary accreditation are saying we are going to stay above the board and continually move towards excellence. So the big problem with voluntary accreditation. It can be very costly to an institution. So many schools choose not to get the voluntary accreditation. And when Fallon was talking about the ACEN, ACEN accreditation and CCNE, those are the two biggest national accreditations for nursing school. ACEN, ACEN accredits PN programs, LPN programs, LVN programs, as well as associate and baccalaureate and some master's programs. CCNE accreditation only accredits BSN and higher level programs. So a PN program could not apply to be accredited by a receive CCNE accreditation. It's not possible. They don't do that. So you do want to have those types of accreditation, because that can be looked at by employers and determine if they want to hire you or not. And it used to be, back in the dark days, that was a mandatory requirement that you graduate from it was back then, it was NLN accreditation or a CCNE accredited institution. Otherwise, you were like a second choice to be hired. Another issue with that is, if you start out in nursing and you go to a school that's not accredited by one of these nursing organizations, ACN or CCNE, what can happen is that higher level program can then refuse to accept you because of your credits may not transfer. And that goes back to the involuntary accreditation. So you might go to a program. This is I'll give you a common scenario. A lot of proprietary schools will, for-profit schools, same as proprietary, they will have a PN program, an associate degree program, and then an affiliation with the school that will grant a bachelor's degree. So the school will not accredit the PN program or the associate degree program. Or if they do accredit, they'll accredit it with what's called a national accreditation, which is a lower level accreditation. And schools that have that national accreditation, these are the schools where usually your prerequisites will not transfer from school to school. So you may, if you decide to leave that school and go to another school, they may say your school was only nationally accredited, so we're not going to take any of your credits for your prerequisites. And like Fallon was saying, very few schools will allow you to transfer nursing credit for a nursing course because there's such a variance in what's included in those courses. So you want to make sure your school that you're going to is regionally accredited if possible. Those credits, if you get a credit from a regionally accredited school, whether it's a university, a college, or a smaller school, those credits are probably 99% guaranteed to be transferable to another university that is also regionally accredited. So you're going to make sure you're in an approved program, which is always, if it's open, you want a regionally accredited school versus a nationally accredited school. And I'm not saying that, this is my disclaimer, every nationally accredited school is bad. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there's a safeguard. You need a regionally accredited school so that your prerequisites will transfer to another school. And often that's not the case. So again, my example, you'll see a proprietary school not accredit with ACNE or CCNE, well, with ACEN accreditation. They'll not accredit their BSN programs, their associate degree programs or their PN program, but they will have an accredited BSN program. That's great. The problem is for you, it's great for the school, but for you as a nurse, it may be problematic in that if you leave that system again, you may have to repeat courses if you enter into another system. Where that system that you're already in, they'll say, hey, we'll take all your credits from your previous degree and not cause you any problems. But if you leave, they may tell you, that new school may say, go back and retake all those courses again. So you want to look for an approved school that's regionally accredited so that your credits can transfer. and it needs to be accredited by ASIN or CCNE. A lot of times the school will say, yes, we're accredited. And you say, are you accredited? They say, absolutely, we're accredited. What they're not telling you is they're not accredited by a nursing organization. They're talking about their involuntary accreditation, but you're not going to be told that. So you need to ask them, are you accredited by a nursing organization such as ASIN or CCNE? And do you have regional or national accreditation? If the answer is no, that they are not accredited by ASIN or CCNE, you need to tilt your head and ask some questions. If the answer is no, that they're nationally accredited versus being regionally accredited, which is what you want, I suggest you tilt your head again. So it's very important that you ask these questions very specifically. Not are you accredited, but who are you accredited by? Is it ASIN, CCNE? And also, do you have regional or national accreditation? Those are key questions to ask, and they can cost you thousands of dollars if you do not ask those direct questions. So please ask those questions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Sandra.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for that. So you heard it. You heard it from the grapevine. We can move on to the next slide as we are ending our presentation soon. So there's lots of common prerequisites out there that you need to take. My main pearl from this is just make sure that you plan a strategy to save yourself time and money with doing this. You want to make sure that you know all the schools you're applying to first, then start taking them. You don't want to go start just taking prerequisites blindly, and then you find out 4 of the 5 schools that you want to apply to need a different version. So just wanted to make sure to point that out. And this is something that I do help students with when I coach them one-on-one in my programming, and I have organizational sheets to help them to be organized in this process as you're preparing to apply to nursing school. Next slide, please. And then I think Nicole brought up one of these, and I just wanted to make sure, I don't know if this is, if you all can see this well, but there's a variety of different pre-nursing, nursing entrance exams that you have to look at that you may potentially need to take in order to get into a nursing program. The main one is the ATITs, but then there's also the HESI is another one. The other ones are not as common, the PACS, the Kaplan, and the psychological services, the PSB, but I wanted to make sure that the students here were aware that there's a possibility that you may need to take some of these in order to get into nursing programs and be prepared. Make sure, my main pearl about this is make sure that you're taking, you don't take this blindly. You know, you take prep classes, you get the books and look at the resources, especially by the makers of these exams. And then make sure to ask these schools what their nursing entrance exam score needs are, and if you need to take it at their school, can you take it at another school? Can you transfer and get the scores from those schools? So I just wanted to kind of point that out. We can go to the next slide, please. Oops. Wanted to point out just a bit, if we can go back some more, back to the prepared section, I think we jumped a little too quickly ahead, was about the holistic admission review. So I wanted to make sure to point that out, is that there's a lot of schools out there that look at your test scores and things like that, and they look at your prerequisites, but you don't want to just be a number. You know, you want to be able to be looked at holistically. So see if the schools that you are applying to have this. They borrowed this from like medical models, and there's a lot of different healthcare professions schools out there that now do this, and this is a very busy wheel, but you can kind of try to look that up online. But they look at just all of your different life experiences, your involvement, and just they really look at your work experiences, volunteerism, your life, all of these different types of things to see, are you well-rounded for their program? Are you well-rounded for nursing? We can go to the next one. The next slide. The interesting thing was, it was last seen that nursing programs was still kind of below the grain on this, and which is challenging because we already have a shortage in nursing, and it's hard for nursing students to get into nursing programs because of the waiting list sometimes. and then you add in that you're not looking at people as a whole person. And this takes me a little bit back to that other slide at the beginning with 17% of the Black pre-nursing students that were not getting in. You're not looking at them holistically. We can't just look at, when we look at standardized tests and we're looking at just GPAs, we can't just look at students as a number. And, especially as Black and African American people from the African diaspora, we have different life experiences, challenges, opportunities, and these different things that make up who we are and how we approach life and how we approach education. And we have to look at a student, no matter really what their ethnicity is, holistically. So I wanted to make sure to point that out, but see if that is something that they are doing as a part of the admissions process as you're in the midst of applying. Because the other thing with that is that sometimes it could be setting you up for failure with you being accepted and being accepted into a nursing program that only is looking at just you for the scores, but they haven't looked at you well-rounded enough. And then you get, when it comes time to passing the courses, or when it comes time to passing the exit HESI exam, or even getting prepared for the NCLEX, there was something missed about you and your application that they could have saw, that they could have helped you to work on, or you could have worked with an advisor or a tutor or a coach or something to kind of better optimize whatever that area was about you, so that you can make sure that you pass and do well as a student so that you can become a nurse. Because it's not just about graduating the program, it's also about passing that licensure exam as well to become a nurse. We can move on to the next slide, please. All right, so quiz time after all of what we've learned. For anybody who's in the chat, who is listening, who has that, this is so small on my phone, I'm sorry. So what pass rate percentage is the one that you want to pay attention to when you are applying to nursing schools? Is it the T's, is it the CCNE, or is it the NCLEX? So everybody answer in the chat for me. Anybody who is watching, let us know what your answer is for that. Is it A, B, or C? And Lauren, if we could put some of those comments across the screen for those that are watching. All right, and I probably meant to say besides the panelists. So for all of you that are watching this, we want to make sure that we are paying attention to the NCLEX pass rate, the NCLEX, that's C. That's the one that we want to make sure that we pay attention to when we are applying to nursing programs. All right, we're going to take a quick 30-second break before we move on to the next section, and we'll be moving right along as we're ending our stream.
Did you know you can apply to over 50 historically Black colleges and universities at the same time for only $20? You can with the Common Black College application. Hello, my name is Robert Mason. I'm the founder of the CBCA. Students around the world have completed the application and received multiple acceptance letters, financial aid packages, and scholarship offers. So visit our website at commonblackcollegeapp.com to apply now. And don't forget to pick up the book, Get Educated, The Man Behind the Common Black College Application. Thank you, and get educated.
Welcome back to the pre-nursing in color 90-minute television special. While you are moving over to the 30-minute Q&A, which is already about to begin, scrolling along the bottom of your screen, and also we've taken the liberty of dropping the link inside your comment section. So if you're watching from Roku, Amazon Fire, the E360 television network, or YouTube, and you'd like to be inside of the immersive experience of the Q&A, head over now using the link provided, and we'll see you inside in just a moment. We're about to get started. Don't go away.
All right, we are back for some Q&A a bit. So for those of you who did not get a chance to see the entire program or joined us late, make sure that on that same bit.ly link that you pick up your notes and resource guide so that you can see some of the rest of the information that we have that we'll kind of discuss during the Q&A a bit. And so as far as being organized, I have in the resource guide for the students a lot of links for some scholarships, especially. I wanted to make sure to point that out because scholarships, having a financial plan in the midst of applying to nursing school, I think is a really, really big one. A lot of people get accepted into nursing programs or look at starting a nursing program, but for some reason they didn't pay attention to the tuition until it's too late. And so we'd want to make sure that we are staying organized. I wanted to ask the panelists, for those of you who have applied to nursing scholarships or just scholarships in general, how important is it to be organized while applying to scholarships?
Well, I will always talk. Fallon, you know that. It's critically important that students have their ducks in order when they're applying for scholarships and financial aid. A big thing is to look at deadline dates. A lot of schools have scholarships that tend to be bigger and broader at the beginning of the scholarship application time rather than near the end where you may be getting what's left over. The school that I currently teach at, we give a scholarship just for taking a tour of the campus. So you can get, I think it's up to $1,000 now or $2,000 or $3,000 just for coming to the campus and taking a tour. And that's given to you every year. So there's things like presidential scholarships too, where we have a program where if you come and you're in like the top 10% of your graduating class from high school or something, you come to the college and meet with the president for a day, you write a essay, you may be eligible to have your tuition paid for the duration of your college career. So there are a variety of types of scholarships. I encourage you to look into your school, look at the schools you're interested at, and see if they have these special programs. A lot of people aren't aware of that. I mean, come on, $1,000 a semester for walking on a campus and looking around the trees. I'm going to see what I get to do. So look at that. Get help writing an essay. Almost everyone requires some type of essay. So make sure you do that. And you can use that same essay over and over for different schools. But you want to make sure you do look into everything, keep files so that you don't want to miss out on money because you didn't submit a paper on time, or it was incomplete, or it was messy. So attention to detail, stay organized, and look for every opportunity to get money and apply early for financial aid.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Boy, that is a new day when they have a scholarship for you to take a tour and walk around campus. Absolutely.
Look, I showed up.
Oh, you already got your PhD, Dr. Sandra.
$1,000, that's coming.
Yeah, understandable. Wow, that's really something else. But Thank you for those tips and pearls and everything. Yeah, it's absolutely important to be organized. And a part of that, like you mentioned, was repurposing. Repurposing is a wonderful thing to be able to do is, once you've written a really great essay and you've had some, extra eyes to review that essay with you and all of those things. And you actually, did well with that and actually got a scholarship, that's a winning essay. So go ahead and reuse that over and over again, and absolutely paying attention to those deadlines. That's something that I cannot stress enough. And I actually create organizational sheets for actually helping students to actually keep on track with staying organized with applying to the scholarships. There are a few in the resource guide that you guys make sure that you point out. So I know we're kind of done with slides, I think, from the presentation, but there is some with the NHSC. The Nurse Corps Scholarship is a big one. I think that one is coming up due next month. The Nurse Corps Scholarship actually, yes, and WIOA, yes. The Nurse Corps scholarship program actually is one that gives you a living stipend, and it gives you money every month. So instead of having to worry about working and paying bills, you do have some monies that can go towards helping you pay bills, and it pays for your tuition and your books and different things like that. But you do have to work in exchange for a couple of years in a underserved area, kind of in a community health type area where there's not enough healthcare providers, which in a lot of places in the U.S., there are those places and everything. So you want to consider that. WIOA is another one. Thank you all for sharing in the chat because I don't have the PowerPoint in front of me now, but WIOA is another one. It used to be called WIA. That is, I believe, the Workforce Investment and Opportunity Act. And I actually was a recipient of WIOA, and that was one that I did not have to work in exchange for. This is something that was kind of from the federal government. My tuition was paid for at the community college. My uniform was paid for. My books, all of my clinical supplies, everything that I needed was paid for, which was absolutely a blessing and was right on time, especially having had used up all of my financial aid. And so I do have a link in that in the resource guide about being able to find if you have WIOA in your particular state. Thank you for bringing back up the slides and everything. So the UNCF, Johnson & Johnson is another big one. You have over 300 nursing scholarships in this database that you can find nursing scholarships with. So there's tons and tons of ways that you can get financial aid monies and save yours, be able to use that other funding and everything. So from the panelists, do you have any organizational tips that you like to share or a strategy that you know of for staying organized while applying to nursing scholarships? I did want to also hear from Naya, Nicole, and Jesse on this, especially our students too.
Yes, so Nicole speaking. So I also use WIOA. It was really great. So with WIOA, you just apply, you have to have your nursing school acceptance. So you would submit like your transcript, everything, your admission letter that you've been admitted to that program, and they pay for everything. So for example, say financial aid covers everything and you happen to be in an expensive program, they cover everything else related to nursing school. So like your uniform, books, everything else. So, but if your tuition stays fully covered, but you need money for like anything related to nursing school, so supplies, books, they pay for it. You don't have to pay them back, and then it just keeps going on. So I believe the maximum per year is similar to financial aid, so it's about I believe like 3,600 total, but it depends on your state. You already touched on Nurse Corps. So what Dr. Sandra said earlier, for financial aid, I did work in that department at my school as well. So it's best to apply as early. As soon as FAFSA opens, you apply, because any like extra funds that they have, goes to like first come first serve. So especially if you're a nursing student, we have more expenses. So just apply as soon as that cycle opens. You apply so that you can get funded. There's like a smaller grant other than the grant that you get for like tuition. I don't know what it's called in other states, but for us, it ranges anywhere from like 200 to in the thousands. So say you applied for FAFSA early and they have extra funds left over, you're a single parent or you're just a student in need, you will get that fund once you apply early. Scholarship was something that was brought to me a month ago. I think the deadline was like maybe a month and a half ago. That's also really good. You don't pay anything back. It's a grant, so that's a great resource as well. Nurse Corps, also very good. They give you stipend in exchange for, you're pretty much working for them for 2 years. So if I think of anything else, I will reach out to Fallon, but that's all. But there's definitely so many resources out there for nursing students. Research. There's also like a Black nursing group on Facebook where the students are awesome. They give you amazing tips, amazing resources as well. You can also find some on Fallon's website or reach out to her at any time. I'm done speaking.
I would just like to chime in. A lot of nursing students are already working in healthcare in different capacities. The one thing that I would suggest that they do is consider, if they are in a place that has a union, consider your union, because here on the East Coast, they have, it's called various things in various places, but it's $11.99. And depending on your city, has a different letter. Like here in Philadelphia, it's $11.99C. Well, I think when I was in New York, it was $11.99J. And it's all part of the SEIU union. And you don't have to necessarily have a clinical position. You just have to have a position that is covered by the union. And I know a medical secretary that her entire tuition for nursing school was paid through this SEIU scholarship. So if you're working somewhere that has a union, definitely consider looking up your union for possible scholarships.
Wow. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you so much. And Nicole as well. These are some excellent tips that I'm trying to keep up with the ones that are in the chat here as well as coming across the screen. So I think someone brought up that you can check out the workforce employment, or you can check with the unemployment office or with workforce as well about WIOA. And then there was also mention of tuition reimbursement, which actually came to my mind when you were talking about looking at your employer. And so also keeping that in mind also, especially if you've been working, some places have as little as 6 months, but many places in general do have, you need to be working there a year. But I mean, if that's a good place and you feel like you're a good fit there, you can get that tuition reimbursement for your nursing program and really go for it. And then one of the other scholarships that I really wanted to point out, which was on the previous slide, was the one for our National Black Nurses Association. I'm trying to make sure to save students as much time and money, because these ones that I have on the screen, it looks at hundreds of them at the same time. So it saves you time, like the Johnson & Johnson, the United Negro College Fund, and then that NSNA one for the Foundation of National Student Nurses. But the National Black Nurses, because today is about pre-nursing in color, if you are a member of National Black Nurses Association as a student member, you can get scholarships that range anywhere between $1,000 to $15,000. And I can personally attest to this because I was a scholarship winner not once, but twice with them alone. And so just wanted to make sure to share this powerful resource, that you not only have a community to be able to be a part of this nursing organization, but you also have the opportunity to get a scholarship. And I believe last I knew, to be a student member, as long as you are a nursing student, so you already need to be in a nursing program, but the fee for the year is like $40. So $40 for to be mentored, to get community service, to get experience, to get scholarships. And the networking is unreal. But we can go on, and we have about 10 minutes left before we start to wrap up and everything. So we can just continue on with the other pearls that were kind of in the resource guide and everything. So some of these were mentioned already by a couple of the students today. So talk to current and recent grads of the programs that you want to attend. Other things are having a support system to surround yourself with community. And then the one here in the middle is creating a plan while you wait for acceptance or rejection letters, and just having a backup plan. So what I really like about Naya, for instance, what you brought up with your work history was that you went to CNA as well as a medical assistant. So you are working in the field, you're constantly surrounding yourself, you're in the medical terminology, you're networking with people, which are also people can write you recommendation letters at that in the midst of it all. You're also getting the opportunity for tuition reimbursement. But just making sure to point this out, because now students, because there's such a high demand of students that are applying to nursing programs, some nursing programs have a 1 to 2 year waiting list sometimes. And so you want to just make sure that you have a backup plan. What are you doing to make sure that your application looks great, that you're networking, that you're learning and doing all the things that you can? Did any of the panelists have anything that you wanted to add when it comes to that?
Staying around people that's going to encourage you, and stick with it. Also, I would like to say, if you see someone in your class, get to know the people that you're taking your class with, introduce yourself, ask some questions, kind of build a relationships, because that's really important, especially if, like me, most of my friends, some of my friends are already nurses. So I try to keep myself within that community, keep my people that are on the nursing training, because if my friends are already in nursing, like they already got there, they're already happy, they got their own problems that they have, their own group that they have. So I had to create my own support fighting. And I know sometimes, like for me, it was very nerve-wracking to even start conversations with people. I started a conversation with one of my classmates in my biology class. She was really good. She knew the answer to allow most of the questions before even being taught the lecture. And I just went up to her. I was like, oh, we had colorful pens. And I was like, oh, why you use colorful pens? And just started having a conversation with her. And me and her, we build a support. So we've been getting hundreds and 90s in our science, even with math. My statistics teacher, getting very acquainted with the professor, and now he's helping with me. I'm not even in the nursing track right now, but he's helping with pharmacology, and with the and sitting down with all the other nursing students that we all got together to ask him some questions about it, because he's really good at math, and we learning how to do like the conversions and stuff like that before we get there. So kind of creating, having discussions with your peers in school, but just put yourself out there. Oh no, I don't want to do this. That's the worst you're gonna get. But if you have that support, it's gonna take. Not having, might not be doing nursing. They're probably not gonna understand you and your first. Someone that understands and how that lines up. You need help in this area. You can go to feeling like it's so less stressful for me. It's so less stressful for me by having and creating my own support, and be able to support others too, because I do help others as well as they help me. So I think that's really important.
Yeah. Thank you for weighing in on that tip. I really, especially from being a current student. And then I also wanted to, I already kind of mentioned this already, but about just with, support. I have here for Pre-Nursing in Color, I have different Black nursing opportunities that you can have to stay inspired. National Black Nurses Association is one. Chi Eta Phi Nursing Sorority is another one. This is a Black nursing sorority. And also Lambda Pi Alpha is another Black nursing sorority. And then new is the Color of Wellness magazine and podcast. This magazine is written and conducted by Black nurses, and there's also a podcast. I was actually on the podcast once. But how wonderful it is to have a healthcare magazine written by Black nurses, first of its kind. And then there for diversity as well. I wanted to make sure for anybody, for the minorities here that's on the group or who identify with more than just being Black, there is the National Coalition of Ethnic Minority Nursing Associations, and that it will direct you to if you're Native American, if you're Filipino, if whatever ethnicity that you identify with, you can find a nursing organization related. DNPs of color, if you look to go get your doctorate in nursing later, and then the diversity and nurse anesthesia program, which is actually led by a Black nurse if you wanted to become a CRNA, which is a certified registered nurse anesthetist. So have a support system and surround yourself with community. Absolutely. Do we have any more, since we have any more slides as we start to wrap up these last few minutes? There's national nursing organizations like National Student Nurses Association. For the men out there, there's the Association of Men in Nursing and the ANA. We already talked about having a support system and visiting schools to attend information sessions rather. And then 2023 events. These are 7 events that you'll find in your resource guide that are either virtual or in person that you can go to, that are either for Black nurses or by Black nurses or attended majority by Black nurses. And so just wanted to make sure to keep you inspired. So my last question, since we have that up there, was what nursing organization, oh, this is kind of jumbled on my end, but you all can see on the screen if you want to answer A, B, or C, what national nursing organization is there that we have in the U.S. that's the largest Black one? Is it NCEMNA, MBNA, or NSNA? And if you hadn't guessed it already, that was National Black Nurses Association. So just wanted to make sure for pre-nursing in color that all Black future nurses, all Black pre-nursing students are aware of the resources that are just for you as a Black student, as a Black nursing student, as a Black pre-nursing student, what you have. Student Support Sunday is something that I have on Clubhouse every other Sunday. The next one is tomorrow night. This is actually where I had the pleasure of meeting all of the panelists here online. So that is something, as far as community is involved, you can actually attend that, and that's 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, a 2-hour room. I just want to thank all of the panelists again today. Dr. Sandra Bailey Curtis, Jesse Gallup, Nia Banks, and Nicole Kinlock. I thank all of you. I thank Lauren Michael Harris, the Trajectory TV Network, and E360 TV. Do we have any last closing thoughts from all of the panelists here as we wrap up today?
I'll close mine. You guys, this is not a solo journey. Nursing is not a solo practice, and the journey there is not a solo event. Find people that are going to support you, that are common, same-minded, like-minded, and even maybe a little bit different. Make sure you get a mentor. You find, I always say, find your tribe. You need mentorship throughout your career. I'm, nearing the end of my career, I still have mentors. So believe in yourself, find people that support you. Don't beat yourself up, and know that you can do this. And there are people out there like myself and other panelists and tons of people who are here to support you. We've been there. We're reaching back. It's time for us to pull you forward. And our only request is that you do the same when you're in a position to do so. Thank you, and good luck to all of you.
Nicole speaking. I would say my final thoughts, always ask questions. That will get you very far. Review anatomy and physiology. It's the foundation to everything when it comes to nursing. Once you know your body system and parts, everything will come a lot easier. Find like a small study buddy or like a study group that will help you get through nursing school. You guys can support and just motivate each other throughout all the struggles. And definitely you need a great self-care routine. Can be very stressful, very overwhelming, but just keep putting into yourself so that you can get more out.
One thing or I like to say
Now you
before
want to
we
go?
close, is just stay encouraged. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, we heard you say stay encouraged.
Yes. All I wanted to say is stay encouraged. Don't allow anybody to deter you. There are going to probably be people in the pathway to deter you to go into another path or say you're unable to do this, but you are able to do it. And the ones that say that you're able to do it, write a list down of things that you need to work on. Write things down. Write your weaknesses. What are your strengths. Have affirmation. I know my partner, when he knew I wanted to do nursing, and he gave me a gift, which was surprising, of a stethoscope. And I have that stethoscope because I know I'm going to be a nurse. And then from Amazon, I got a badge that said nurse on it, and I have my name on it because I know I will be a nurse. So I keep that affirmation, like I will be a nurse. I know I will be a nurse. For my children's school, I went in to read a book, and I was like, I'm a pre-nursing, but I read a book about nursing with the bears and everything like that, and that kind of encouraged me. So I do things that's going to encourage me because there is a lot of discouraging things that's going to be on my way. And I also talk to a therapist. You know, I always focus on my mental health. I focus on my own health as well. That's really, really important when going through this, because when those days when I'm just like, oh my God, how I'm going to do this, right? I have my children, I have papers, I have to study, I have all these anatomy parts, the muscles and the cardiac, involuntary, all these stuff that I was like, didn't know. But you know what? I take a deep breath, deep breathing, I do wellness, I work out, I just try to implement a lot of things that's going to get me, because the 1%, you're going to get to 100%. You don't have to worry about being 100% when you enter it. You have to worry about doing the 1% that's going to get you to the 100%. So take your time, be patient. This is your journey. You stick to your journey and what works for you, not what works for anybody else. Because what works for me might not work for you. So you find out, talk to someone about this, a therapist, talk to advisor if they are supportive. Go into groups like Allen High. So just stay encouraged and bring affirmation that you will become a nurse. You will be what you want to be, and you will get that you get. And no one is going to stop you or you from doing. So that's my last words.
Thank you, Naya. And Jesse, you got a minute to wrap up?
Anything that you want to do is possible. You have to have faith the size of a mustard seed. Anything that you want to say, you can. Anything you say you can do, you can do. And just to piggyback off of what Dr. Sandra said, it takes a village. You don't have to do it alone. You have support. Just reach out, believe in yourself, and get it done.
Thank you so much, Jesse. And with all of that, make sure that you all stay prepared, organized, and inspired in your process. If you want to do more of that and you want one-on-one coaching, or you need organizational tools, or you need a group or community of support, please reach out to me, and you can send me an email at info@nursinginspired.com. That's also in your virtual remote. You can just tap on that button and send me an email. If you'd like for me to come as a speaker to your high school youth group, or just speak anywhere about nursing and nursing careers and education, please reach out as well. You can tap that button and you can go to nursinginspired.com and reach out there as well. Thank all of you again for being here as panelists. Again, thank you, Dr. Lauren Michael Harris, for being such an encouraging coach and hosting this today. Thank you to Trajectory TV and to E360 TV Network. I thank all of you that are in the audience today for your support and watching, and I hope you learned something. All right, we'll see you next time.